Hey folks, good morning. Jared Floyd here with the Digital Weather Desk powered by Century Next Bank. Joining you live as we have a tornado warning that's just been issued for portions of southwestern Arkansas. In our area, it really is just for far northwestern reaches of Columbia County. This does not include Magnolia. In fact, it does not include the vast majority of Columbia County, but it does include interests in the far northwestern reaches of the county this morning. And if you're joining this live stream, if you're seeing this and you're going, oh gosh, we're already underway with severe weather across the region. This is a very, very isolated threat for our far western counties and parishes in the short term, in the next 30 to 45 minutes across portions of Ouachita County and Columbia County in southern Arkansas. Elsewhere in the ArkLaMiss, the severe weather threat is going to stay rather muted for the next several hours. So if you're waking up, like I said, and seeing this in Monroe or across northern Louisiana, again, as we follow these storms, the immediate primary threat and the only areas that are currently under tornado watches are across the ArkLaTex region. And again, that includes Columbia County. So this tornado warning is for a storm that has had a history of producing very strong low-level rotation and has the potential of, if it hasn't produced a tornado yet, potentially producing one here in the short term. There's also another tornado warning of note. It's just outside of our technical coverage area, but in portions of Nevada County, Arkansas. It does not include any portions of Ouachita County, but that'll be something to watch as we go through the next 30 to 45 minutes. As I mentioned, this is not expected to be a prolonged threat, and I say more significant, the more widespread storm threat, not necessarily severe threat, but the more widespread storm threat will likely be later this morning with a line of storms that is making its way to the northwest. In fact, as I zoom out, you can kind of see the makings of the storms that most of us will deal with a little bit later on this morning in the isolated severe weather threat that will go along there. So as you take a look at the radar and you look at the circulation that we're talking about, this last particular scan from the radar screen was not ideal, so you don't really get a whole lot from it, but you can see in the loop leading up to it, the very strong circulation associated with this possible tornado, this imminent tornado that's developing across the region. Again, for those that are joining in and are thinking that this is a widespread concern in the short term, it is really just focused again across Columbia County and Ouachita County. And it continues to trail off to the north and east. So the Stamps community and areas like just to the west of Waldo and toward Beach Creek, all of those folks, again, be prepared, be in your safe place, your tornado safe place, interior portion of your home, away from windows and doors. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Take a helmet, grab shoes, whatever. And like I said, protect yourself from the potential for flying debris. This last radar scan was not as ideal as what we were in terms of trying to survey the atmosphere and get a decent grip on what we're looking at. There is a tornado watch out. This tornado watch was issued much, much earlier in the morning hours, and we've really just been focusing on these, like I said, two kind of lone supercells that have made their way through portions of southwestern Arkansas. But again, Ouachita County and Columbia County are part of a tornado watch that goes until 8 a.m. this morning. And then I wouldn't be surprised if potentially for us to maybe need some type of weather watch later today, just depending on how the overall atmosphere kind of fares, especially with some of this early morning activity. So as some folks join in on the live stream, like I said, I really want to stress for anybody that's hopping on and kind of going, what's going on here. For the vast majority of our coverage area, which is the ArkLaMiss region through portions of the lower Mississippi Valley, there is a lot of folks that are under little to no severe weather threat currently. Again, this is mainly focused across the far western reaches of our southern Arkansas county. So we're talking Columbia County and Ouachita County in Arkansas, not Ouachita Parish, Ouachita County. So again, for folks that are waking up and going, how much longer can I sleep before the storms arrive? Again, if you're outside of these two counties in our coverage area, you can sleep for probably several more hours. You could probably go on until, 7, 8, 9 a.m. So again, I don't want to mislead folks that are waking up on a Saturday morning at 5 a.m. and kind of wondering what in the world's going on. Again, I want to not necessarily temper expectations, but just again, um, make sure that the folks that need to be alerted are being alerted, while also not causing any kind of undue stress for folks that don't need weather information currently. As you take a look at these two storms, again, there is the additional tornado warning into portions of Nevada County. Again, that's not technically in our coverage area. What we've been watching is this one lone storm. Um, that has really been kind of the southern storm out of these two, as they've made their way through southwestern, actually started in northeastern Texas and then made their way um, into southwestern Arkansas earlier this morning. In fact, I started watching these two cells shortly after 2 a.m. And the northern storm, the one that's moving through Nevada County, was the more organized storm. And then as the night has progressed, that northernmost storm, or the morning has progressed, the northernmost storm kind of lost its organization, and the southern storm became more dominant, started to kind of cycle a little bit. So the rotation would ramp up, strengthen a little bit, and then it would fizzle and kind of fall apart. There's my phone alarm telling me to wake up and keep an eye on storms. Already awake. But again, the southernmost storm really became the more dominant, more organized storm, and has continued to kind of ramp up and strengthen, and then fizzle a little bit, and then ramp up again, and then fizzle a little bit. And so we've been watching that one, and that's again very common for a supercell. And most of what we're seeing this morning, the storms that we're dealing with this morning, are riding along a conveyor belt of stronger winds in the low levels of the atmosphere, about 850 millibars, which is a few thousand feet up in the atmosphere. A lot of the storms that we've seen this morning have been kind of just riding along that narrow corridor of stronger winds. And those winds should die down as we go through the morning hours, and as we get towards sunrise, we kind of lose that pocket of stronger low level winds that help fuel a lot of the wind shear in the environment that helps drive all this activity. So if you're waking up, like I said, to the live stream this morning, this is the Digital Weather Desk powered by Century Next Bank. I'm Jared Floyd. For those that may have stumbled across this for the first time, this is a digital weather platform that serves Northeast Louisiana, Southern Arkansas, and Western Mississippi. The westernmost portion of our coverage area is Ouachita County and Columbia counties in Arkansas. Columbia County, at least far northwestern reaches of Columbia County, are under a tornado warning now until 5:45 this morning. Again, this does include the far western reaches and far northwestern reaches of Columbia County. So for folks in Magnolia and McNeil and a lot of these areas, you're not under this tornado warning. So again, I don't want folks to wake up and be alarmed. You wake up to a tornado warning on a Saturday morning this early, and I just, like I said, I want folks to their feet firmly planted in reality with what we're dealing with. These are just two very lone storms, and this shouldn't be a prolonged severe weather threat, at least in the short term in our area. And I will go really quickly as we take this warning down, um, and I'll take a quick look out to the northwest as you take a look at the line of storms that we'll deal with later this morning, which doesn't look overly strong right now, but as we get deeper into the daytime heating of the afternoon, I wouldn't be surprised to have to deal with a few rogue strong to severe thunderstorms, as all of this activity starts to kind of grow into multiple clusters of storms, or perhaps a larger line of thunderstorms that'll surge east as we go through the morning hours. But again, our main focus, and actually as we take a look at the loop from the storms, and I'll go ahead and loop this over the last 3 hours or so, so you can kind of see what I was talking about with the life cycle of these storms and where we started earlier this morning. Like I said, during the 2 a.m. time frame, it was the one northernmost storm. And then the southern circulation kind of took over once these two got into the ArkLaTex region. We really had almost two storms, or one big storm at one time with two different circulations. And then, like I said, the cells kind of started to split. One outran the other. And now we're in the situation where we're sitting at currently. Jeff wakes up to West Monroe. Yeah, this is just for southern Arkansas. The severe weather threat, the severe weather threat for the rest of the area won't be until much later in the morning. So, and I keep repeating that, and in all fairness, you probably just woke up and hopped in. But for those that are just waking up, this is just focus on southern Arkansas here in the short term. If you were waking up and you were catching this live stream and you're wondering about another area outside of Columbia County and Ouachita County, Arkansas, everybody else is good for the next couple of hours. So again, you can head on back to sleep in Monroe and West Monroe and Ruston and even El Dorado. Like I said, these storms are going to track northeast over the far western reaches, and it's just two lone kind of rogue storms, two supercells that are really fueling this severe weather concern in the short term. Everybody else will deal with stuff later this morning and through around midday, and that's that cluster of storms we were just looking at off to our north. Got a number of folks that are joining us this morning. And like I said, I don't want folks to wake up and feel like um, they need to hang around, especially Saturday morning, and everybody probably wanting to sleep in, and then they get the alert on their phone, or have just been up watching storms or whatnot, or they get the alert, hey, Jared's live, and they hop in. Like I said, I just want to kind of temper expectations, and if I can send folks back to bed, that's ideal for all of us this morning. Again, time's 5:15 on this Saturday. We're watching a tornado warning just to the west of the Stamps area. This is along Highway 29 and right along Highway 82. This is actually in Lafayette County, Arkansas. It's not in Columbia County yet. And in fact, the way the current tornado trends, it would clip the far northwestern reaches of the county. For those that are hopping in this morning, good morning. Thank you so much for joining in and being a part of our weather community. Like I said, time's 5:15 on a Saturday morning, and we're just trying to keep tabs on some two rogue severe thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes across southwestern Arkansas this morning. Uh, the one that is most concerning for our coverage area is in and around the Stamps community, which is just outside of our coverage area, but would be moving into our coverage area or just the far northwestern reaches of our coverage area here in the next hour or two, or a half hour or so. Again, these storms have had a history of strengthening, weakening, or cycling is what we call it, where the organization kind of goes up, down, up, down, up, down. And usually that's a pretty good indicator of a fairly well organized supercell thunderstorm. The other thing that we'll keep in mind as we go through the remainder of the morning is how much the storms to the north and northeast of this one really kind of start impacting its environment. Like I said, good morning to everybody that's hopped in and is joining us. And for those that are saying that for those that are waking up and looking and kind of noticing that things are different, again, I'm actually in a hotel room in Galveston, Texas right now as we're getting ready for a wedding later today. And um, like I said, we've been keeping a pretty close eye on these storms through much of the morning hours. Um, I've been kind of up since about 2 a.m. just kind of following the general progress from a lot of this activity as it trickles off to the north and east. And so it's not a big surprise that we've run into these tornado warnings. Like I said, these two storms have had a history of producing some fairly organized circulations and rotation in the atmosphere and low levels of the atmosphere. Now we're starting to move farther and farther away from radar sites, so it's going to get tricky in trying to see what's happening near ground level. And if you've followed severe weather in this area long enough, or you're kind of accustomed to severe weather coverage in this area, you know that a lot of these storms kind of fall in a radar hole where we're not necessarily seeing what's happening at ground level. We're seeing what's happening several thousand feet up in the atmosphere. In fact, with this storm right now, at lowest levels, you're looking at about 4,000 feet up in the air, and it's moving farther and farther away from the Shreveport radar site, which means the farther and farther away it moves, the higher and higher we're looking into this storm. So trying to see low-level rotation is tough at this point. For those, we are kind of zoomed in here, and for those that are wondering, what are we looking at? All right, the reds and greens combined together on this storm relative velocity indicates rotation, or a turning of the winds, or in this instance, we're watching almost low to mid-level rotation, and the brighter the colors, usually the stronger the winds. The red colors indicate winds that are moving away from the radar site. The green are winds that are moving toward the radar site. So if you have winds moving away from the radar site, moving toward the radar site, and there's probably some kind of twisting of the winds as they move through. So that's what we look at when we look at this particular radar image. It is not your typical, there's your storm moving off to the northeast. It's not your typical rain, hail, thunderstorm type radar image, what we call reflectivity image that we typically show. This is the Columbia County line, by the way. So again, when we're this far zoomed in, I just wanted to kind of bring reference to where we are in our coverage area, which is technically we're not in our coverage area. We're just outside of it as this storm moves through. Again, a reminder as this tornado warning continues until 5:45 this morning for those that are joining us, that this tornado warning and the immediate severe weather threat, the short-term severe weather threat in the next hour and a half to 2 hours is focused across Ouachita County and Columbia County, Arkansas. That's it. Those are the only two counties in our area that are currently under a tornado watch, and that tornado watch goes until 8 a.m. So if you wake up to this stream, um, Janie asks, do you think the one near Ralston will extend into Clark County? I haven't really honestly looked as intently at this one because it just the storm to the south was just so much more that the circulation was so much stronger. And this one, as it continues to move ever so closely to northwestern sections of Ouachita County, continues to look weaker. Um, but I mean, I can't rule it out making its way, maybe another warning being needed somewhere down the line with that storm. But it does not look quite as organized as the southernmost storm. And the southernmost storm for the last about hour and a half, 2 hours, has been kind of the more dominant one. And in all fairness, it also kind of has just the more favorable environment to work with. Latest update is this is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a significant tornado located over the Stamps area moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. It should be noted that the National Weather Service did add kind of the considerable damage tag to this particular tornado. While we haven't been able to confirm a tornado on the ground, um, if it is producing a tornado, it could be producing a relatively strong one. Now that all said, I would say that the circulation has gotten a smidge weaker from when the warning was issued about a half hour ago. But it really just depends on your vantage point radar wise. Like I said, I don't want folks to get misinterpreted. So there goes the newest radar image, and it looks a little stronger again. So you can kind of see what I mean by cycling. You have one image and the colors start to kind of they kind of dull out a little bit, and so you lose that brighter signature, which means the stronger winds, and so you think, okay, the storm's starting to weaken, and then all of a sudden you come back with another stronger survey of winds in the atmosphere. This is just northwest of the Shiloh community. I'm going to hop over, and this is what's called our shear rate. If you've been following our radar products for an extended period of time, you know that the shear rate can measure a few different things. It can measure straight line winds. It can also just measure rotating winds and things of that nature. And anytime you start seeing the moderate to strong indicators, then that's usually a good sign of an organized area of rotation, or an area of strong winds at the base of a strong thunderstorm. So now we have a new tornado warning that's just been issued, and again, this will kind of run right up behind the northernmost storm, and this will include again far northwestern reaches of Columbia County, but it also includes parts of Nevada County, and eventually potentially could impact downstream areas of Washita County. Again, Washita County, not Washita Parish. If you are waking up to this live stream anywhere in northern Louisiana, the immediate severe weather threat does not include you. If you are waking up in western Mississippi this morning and you're seeing this live stream, this severe threat does not include you in the immediate short term. This is really just for Washita County, Columbia County, and southwestern Arkansas, along with several other counties across southwestern Arkansas. But in terms of the ones that we cover and serve, it's just those two. Again, here's a look at the tornado watch that's in effect. I'll go ahead and take down all the gobbledygook there, or at least move it so you can see the counties a little bit better. And again, this tornado watch has been out for a while now, but goes until 8 a.m. Could we see additional, could we see the need for additional watches and warnings and all that stuff later this morning? It's a possibility, but in the short term, but that'll come from a larger kind of cluster complex of storms later this morning. In the next 2 hours, our focus is on these two storms. And to be honest with you, the northernmost storm that we were just talking about, Janie, the one to the northeast, they've decided not to go forth with an additional tornado warning. So National Weather Service in Little Rock is responsible for issuing a tornado warning if we needed one for that northwestern Washita County storm, and they decided to kind of forego that. So that's at least a positive sign. We continue to see some very strong areas of I say low level rotation. It's kind of more low-ish level rotation as this storm starts to approach far northwestern reaches of Columbia County. And in kind of in all fairness, we now have two different tornado warnings across northwestern Columbia County. The first one covers a larger swath of Columbia County than the second one. The second one is, we're talking a very small sliver of Columbia County from the county line to the Bethel community, and that's about it. This is going to be a really, really small section of our coverage area, and there's a decent chance that this storm just bypasses the coverage area altogether. Maybe more of a Washita County problem than it would be a Columbia County problem. But with a circulation that's been that strong at times this morning, we just want folks to be in their safe place, to be sheltered. And especially, like I said, with a cycling cell that has really now had a history of producing a possible tornado going all the way back into northeast Texas, where these storms have a history of producing damage. So that's the other thing to take into account, is that a lot of these storms do have a history of producing potential tornado damage. I don't want to say with certainty that it was tornadoes, but possibly could have been tornadoes. More than likely were tornadoes in northeastern Texas. Apparent tornadoes is what is the word that I prefer to use in those instances. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Like I said, these storms have a history of producing damage, so when a warning is issued, you want to be in your safe place. What is your safe place? For a tornado, it's your interior portion of your home, away from windows and doors. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Think of an interior hallway, closet, bathroom. Grab a helmet or a pillow to protect yourself from any breaking glass or flying debris or anything of that nature. In this particular diagram, that red room right there, the interior hallway, closet, bathroom, and/or bathroom is your ideal place to be. As this tornado warning again continues to gradually start to bypass Columbia County. So what we're going to see likely in the next, and Roxanne, good morning. Thanks so much for joining in. For what we're about to see probably here in the short term is that this particular tornado warning is going to move into Nevada County here shortly, just south of the Falcon community. And when it does, and it moves firmly kind of north of Columbia County, and the new update message is put out from the National Weather Service, it will likely take Washita or Columbia County out of this tornado warning, which is good news for our coverage area. Normally, I would continue a live stream just in the event that this storm trickles into northwestern sections of Ouachita County. Um, Considering that it's Saturday morning at 5:30 in the morning, I would probably be more inclined to stop this live stream and then start another one if we have to cover that storm in northwestern sections of Ouachita County. Again, these storms have been on the outer fringes of our coverage area. And so as I take this one and put it into motion, let me check the storm motion. It was, I believe, 40 miles an hour. And this is a very strong rotation. Now it's now northeast at 55 miles per hour. So some of the arrival times, again, it's really just Ralston, but I can also adjust this and put some more city names out there for us. Maybe not. There we go. That's too many. That's more like it. So here's some of the arrival times for some of the storms that are some of the areas that are in the path of this particular tornado. And again, the vast majority of these areas are outside of our coverage area. Keep in mind that the Oak Grove that you see there at 5:45 this morning is Oak Grove, Arkansas. It's Oak Grove in southwestern Arkansas. I guess you could look at it as almost two Oak Groves. There's one in the Little Rock area, and then there's this one in southwestern Arkansas. Also, ironically, there's two Oak Groves in Louisiana too. Go figure. But anyway, you can see these storms as they move off to the northeast. They're farther in its life cycle, closer to the 6 o'clock time frame. We would be potentially, actually probably in the 6:30 time frame, would potentially be looking at this storm moving into northwestern sections of Ouachita County, if it can hold together that long. Again, as we head closer to daybreak, I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing these storms working with less in terms of the stronger low-level winds that they've been feeding off of this morning. That said, this storm has still a very strong area of circulation at the base of it. Even though we're looking higher and higher and higher in this storm with each scan, the winds associated with it are still quite strong. So if you're under this tornado warning, you need to be sheltered. And as we said multiple times through the morning hours, is how much these storms have had a tendency to cycle, strengthen, weaken, and not even weaken, just in many instances, that's what a supercell does. It produces a tornado, and then that tornado occasionally lifts, and then will drop again, lift, drop. I'm not necessarily implying that's exactly what's happening here, but that's just the general cycle of updrafts in supercell thunderstorms. We're also getting to a point where we may lean a smidge more frequently on the National Weather Service and Little Rock's radar, although Shreveport still has the better vantage point uh, as the storm continues to move off to the northeast relatively quickly now at about 55 miles per hour. Again, for those that are joining us this morning, Columbia County, Ouachita County. That's it for at least the short term. In the immediate short term, those are the two areas we're watching. The two areas that are under a watch in our area. The rest of it is ArkLaTex, Southwest Arkansas. Really just southwestern Arkansas at this point. It's not even the ArkLaTex, it's just Ark. And again, most of this is just focused on two storms that have made their way through the area, and now we're really only dealing with warnings with one storm, and that's the one that's making its way through far northern reaches of Columbia County. And really, to be honest with you, most of the storm has stayed just outside of our coverage area. But with warnings, these circulations can wobble back and forth. Yeah, Janie, these are very small communities. I mean, like you said, Ruston's really kind of the more highly populated area in this particular county until you get closer to the interstate. You get up toward Prescott and a lot of those areas too. Um, But for folks that may be traveling along Highway 371 or 278 at very early this morning, you really don't want to run into one of these thunderstorms because again, this one's been spinning pretty hard off and on this morning, and we just want to make sure that folks are taking their practical safety precautions with this very isolated severe thunderstorm. Meanwhile, as I go back to the National Weather Service and Little Rock's radar and we zoom out a little bit, a reminder that as folks wake up through the rest of this morning, we will deal with another large area complex of thunderstorms that'll sweep eastward through the morning and early afternoon hours. I'm not overly concerned with all of this stuff being severe. I do think there will be the potential for a few rogue severe thunderstorm warnings or maybe even a rogue tornado warning, not out of the realm of possibilities. But I really think that the main focus is here in the short term during the morning hours with these few lone storms and then any other severe weather threat through the remainder of the day will likely again remain quite isolated. It's going to be a rainy, stormy Saturday, especially the latter half of the day. But in terms of severe weather, there's going to be a lot of instances where um, many folks don't see anything in that regard. So here's the new tornado warning as it sits current. I say the new tornado warning, the refreshed tornado warning as it sits, and now it does take um, Columbia County out of the tornado warning. So that's again at least a handful of good news for our area is that Columbia County no longer under a tornado warning. This tornado warning does still include a good chunk of Nevada County, and again areas along 371 and 278 as it moves off to the north and east. We will continue to keep an eye on this storm as it makes its way toward Washita County. That would be closer to the 6 o'clock time frame, maybe in the next 20 or 30 minutes. I will go ahead and bring this live stream down for now. Again, I don't want folks waking up and getting the wrong idea and we cause more panic than we do good for our coverage area. And again, a reminder that our coverage area starts in this particular part in southern Arkansas with Washita and Columbia counties. So we'll go ahead and kind of bring this stream down for the time being. I need to get a glass of water. The night Saturday morning. It's just, I just need water. Ugh. And along with that, we'll just keep an eye on the storm as it makes its way um, out of southern Arkansas and into the central sections of the state later on this morning. And again, we'll keep an eye on any severe weather threat that could materialize later this morning for a larger part of the area, but that is not going to happen in the immediate future. Main focus right now, southern Arkansas, and really now just Washita County. You folks in Washita County, at least in our coverage area, the only folks with any kind of severe weather threat, and really it's the western half of Washita County. So we're talking one small sliver of one county. That said, if you live in those areas and in those communities, make sure that you stay weather aware. Tornado watch does remain in effect for another 2.5 hours or so until 8 a.m. Thanks so much for stopping by the Digital Weather Desk powered by Century Next Bank. Forecast is always available at digitalweatherdesk.com. Again, your severe weather alerts are free with the Digital Weather Desk app available for Apple and Android users. Also, Weather Call Next Gen, our partnership with them. You can learn more details at digitalweatherdesk.com and register for that as well, just in case you want to get a phone call the next time a tornado warning like this happens. Um, a lot easier just to receive that phone call, text, email, or a combination of all three. I'll see you later this morning. Maybe, hopefully not, but if severe weather warrants, we'll be here. Thanks so much for stopping by the Digital Weather Desk, powered by Century Next Bank. Have a great rest of your Saturday, everybody.